Have you ever had an experience and it's really hard to describe? Maybe a flock of sheep, excuse me, flock of birds in the sunset or a sunset. How about one time I saw a tornado way in the distance where I wasn't safe, but I was like, whoa. And, or maybe a near car crash, something that's just like, and then you get back to your buddies, your friends, your family, and they're saying, hey, how was your vacation? How was your time? And you start to try to tell them the scenario, and you're running out of words. And because you're running out of words, because it's really hard to describe and catch the essence, then they're looking at you like, and you're thinking, yeah, I don't got the right words, and you definitely ain't understanding what I'm trying to say because I don't even know what I'm trying to say. So you just end up the conversation by, you just had to be there. Well, I got one of those. You just had to be there. This is all about that's what God is like. I'm glad you're with me. I'm Brian, Faith Fits Psalms, and feel free to subscribe down below. Hit that button that gets you alerts, and check out the notes. I'll link other ones I've done and other playlists I've done. This one is on the playlist. That's what God is like, and we're actually doing part 8 here, and it's pretty interesting. I'm just a simple guy that fell in love with an amazing God. Actually, He loved me first, and I responded to that. And so I hope I can just kind of like grease the path a little bit so that you'll slide, and end up right in His presence. You won't regret it. You'll never say, dang, I wish that didn't happen. And because I'm kind of that guy. I'm kind of like, I've seen something. I know something, but it's really hard to describe. You have to be there. But here's the great thing about God. He invites you to relationship with Himself, and then He shows up, and then you get your own experiences. But today, we're going to look at one from the Old Testament, first in the book of Judges, and you'll recognize the name when I say it in a few minutes. And then we're going to jump all the way a couple of thousand years later, or actually, 1,500 years later, to Jesus and the New Testament in the book of Mark. And this is all in keeping with that's what God is like. He's a God worth boasting about. So we're picking up a story. If you want to turn, I'm reading from the New Living Translation. And I'm in the book of Judges, which is about the seventh book in the Bible in the Old Testament. And it's all about a time after Israel came out of Egypt, crossed the Jordan, took over the promised land, took a while, and defeated the people that were living there. And then they started to live there. And the judges, this is before kings, before King Saul, before King David, before King Solomon, judges ruled in regional areas. And so, but Israel kept sliding backwards away from God. He would jerk their chain through difficulties, famines, and the Philistines and other armies would come and invade, and then they would repent, turn to God. He would deliver them, and they'd have a season of peace. And so we're picking this up in Judges chapter 13, where in verse 1 it says, the Israelites did evil again, not their first and not their last time, in the Lord's sight, so He handed them over to the Philistines. Now in those days there was this guy, a man named Manoah, and he was from the tribe of Dan, and his wife was unable to become pregnant, and so she had no children. And but the angel appeared to Manoah, the husband, and said, even though you've been unable to have children, he appeared to his wife and said, I'm going to give you a baby. Okay, Manoah's wife, that doesn't even say her name, and says, I'm going to give you a baby, and this baby, don't ever let him drink any wine or anything from the grapevine, and never cut his hair because I'm going to make him separate. I'm going to give him a Nazirite anointing, and I'm going to use him in the days to come to deliver Israel. And so this woman was like, okay. So he just appeared to her. And so, of course, when she hears this, she goes, I got to tell my husband. She runs and tells the husband, and which is verse 6. And he said, a man of God appeared to me. I was just minding my business and told me this. And she repeated the story. And he's like, well, where is he? Why didn't you have him come over? And she says, listen, he was here and he was gone. I'm just telling you what he said. So Manoah goes over in that next season, and he prays to God in verse 8, and he says, Lord, please let that man of God come back. I'd like to talk to him because I want to do this right. And maybe he's also thinking, just want to make sure my wife is not hallucinating in her desire to have a child. And so God in verse 9 answers his prayer, and the angel, see that neither one of them knows right now, that was an angel. The angel of the Lord, which is really Jesus in the Old Testament, okay? So he answered his prayer, and the angel of God appeared to his wife again. And then she's like, hey, sir, would you do me a favor? Don't go anywhere. Just stay right here because I got to go get my husband. I'll be in big trouble if the second time he doesn't know. So she does. She gets him quickly. Verse 10 tells the husband. He runs and comes back. And he says, are you the man that talked to my wife the other day? Yes, I am. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. I just want to ask you a couple of questions and like what we should do, because if this comes true, we just want to make sure that we're following all the rules. And then he basically says, well, I told your wife everything I'm going to tell you again, but a son, going to deliver Israel, no alcohol drinks, no forbidden foods, no drinking wine or anything from grapes or raisins even. And so he says, okay, I'll do that. But then he's figuring, I think he's thinking, and this is my opinion, he's thinking, okay, don't leave. I don't know what's going on, but just don't leave. What am I going to tell my friends about? How am I going to describe this to my friends? Well, it's actually going to get worse. Trust me. Okay. So would you please stay here? So I'm going to go get a goat for you. Then we can eat together. And he goes, well, I'll stay. You can go get the goat, but I'm not going to eat. Okay. I'm not hungry. I'm God. And so he goes and you may prepare a burnt offering in verse 16. So Manoah goes and does it. And then he brings the sacrifice back. He gets it ready. And then he says, okay, yeah. Again, he's thinking, how am I going to describe this to other people? They'll think I'm crazy. So what's your name? Basically. So when I talk to other people, they're going to say, who was it? What's his name? Where's he from? So what's your name? And then, so the angel replies to him in verse 18, why are you asking my name? The angel replied, seeing that it is incomprehensible. Because Manoah was just talking. He was just like, I know this is just not a normal happening. You're not just some guy going from one town to the other, passing through my town. Whoever you are, what is your name? Why do you ask? Seeing that it is too wonderful. It's incomprehensible. Another translation, you wouldn't understand if I told you. Wow. Then Manoah took the goat and a grain offering, offered it up as a sacrifice to the Lord. So you think this conversation is already kind of heavy and kind of strange and going to be hard to describe, right? Well, it's going to get worse. So he starts the sacrifice with the goat. And just as Manoah and his wife watched, in verse 19, the Lord did an amazing thing. Verse 20, as the flames from the altar shot up towards the sky, the angel of the Lord ascended in the fire. How do you describe that? You ever see that before? You see embers going up. You see ashes going. And also, Manoah goes, oh, no. Oh, no. We're in trouble, honey. She gets on his face and says, we're going to die. We just saw God. And I love his wife. His wife says, hey, it is dramatic, and I don't know how we're going to explain this to anybody, and we got to treasure this and do what he said. But listen, can I just give you a little natural advice here, down to earth advice? If the Lord wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. Woohoo! That's what God is like. He appears. He visits. He talks to you, gives you promises. That's what God is like. And when you behold him, this is a common occurrence with him. You begin to realize your name is too wonderful. It's too great for me to understand. It's incomprehensible. But we keep coming back for more. And he gives us he scratches another surface, or he turns and you see another facet of his awesomeness. I've been reading my Bible for 45 years, and I'll read it on, kind of in a daily devotion, and I'll read something I've underlined with notes, and I read it a particular morning, and it's like, oh my gosh, I never saw that before. A new revelation comes. How's that possible? It's because he's incomprehensible. He's too wonderful. He's too amazing to describe. Wow is right. Psalm 145, verse 3 says this: great is the Lord. And because of that, he's most worthy of praise. His greatness is beyond discovery. I've been doing it for 45 years. I don't know how much longer I got, but 10, 15, 20, who knows? I'll still not get close until the day I stand before him and I go, oh, I didn't know the half or the hundredth or the thousandth of it. Now, Psalm 147 says this. I love this one. Verse 4. He counts. He's great. His greatness is beyond discovery. He counts the number of stars and gives names to all of them. So I went to AI. Hey, how many stars in our galaxy? 100 to 400 billion. Just in the Milky Way. He counts the number. You know how long it takes to count to a billion? I think a billion is worth, it's 32 years a second. So if you could do one number per second, it would take you 32 years to count to a billion. Well, that's just 1 billion. There's 400 billion. How many names can you remember? How many names can you create? Beyond comprehension, right? And by the way, there are 2 trillion galaxies out there. 400 billion in ours, there's 2 trillion. So it's incomprehensible. That's what God is like. That's who we serve. That's the God that invites us to relationship. That's the one we're praying to. That's who we pray to. So when you look at your situations, and listen, we all have hard, difficult seasons, days, weeks, sometimes years. Nothing is too difficult for him. His power is not limited. He doesn't forget. He doesn't have bad ears. So now we're going to jump all the way to the New Testament. Why do you ask me my name? Seeing. Don't you understand, Manoah? Like right in my presence right now, you're having all these palpitations because you're trying to figure and measure, but I'm incomprehensible. So when you go try to tell your buddies during your next fireside chat there, or you milking cows and grazing sheep, and it says, "Hey, how's it going? Let me tell you what happened." You're not going to be able to describe it. You're just going to have to say to him, You had to be there. Well, here's one more. Mark chapter 1. We'll bring it way down. Mark chapter 1, verse 41. There's a man with leprosy. This is a highly contagious skin disease, so bad that they literally separated you. You had to go around unclean, unclean, because if you weren't healed yet, and there were ways to get better, not always, but then somebody else would catch it. So, they quarantined them. So they sent them away until they got, the skin disease cleared up. And in some cases it didn't. And that's why they ended up in leper colonies that you've probably heard about or seen movies about, because they're like, and then they're just all dying together. It's a horrible disease. Your fingers fall. It's terrible. So a man with leprosy, chapter 1 of Mark, verse 40, came and knelt in front of Jesus, and he begged him to be healed. He said this, "If you want to, you can make me well again." Notice he didn't say, "Can you make me well? Are you able?" He asked him, "If you want to." That's a deeper question, because I might have the power to do something, the power to help you, but I don't really care. Like, my heart could be far from it. That would not be good, but you can do that. You can give something, but not your heart. So he said, "If you want to, you can touch me and I can be healed." And that same God that went up the flame is now in the flesh, living like we are, Jesus the Christ. And he looks, and it says this, moved with pity, deep compassion. Jesus touched him. Jesus took his pure hands and put them on a leper. Everybody else was probably moving out of the way, saying, "I don't want that thing jumping on me." "I want to," he said. Listen to these words. "I want to. Move with pity." Jesus said, "Hey, leper, where everybody else is rejecting you, I want to." And he touched him and he healed him. Imagine if he had a little staff meeting right before this and said, "Hey, what should I do?" Lord, pray from a distance. Don't touch him. We don't want to get sick. No. Jesus was not concerned about getting the leper's disease. He was more concerned about giving the leper what he had. Let me tell you what, there's nothing in your life that's repulsive to the Lord. He wants to. He wants to get close to you. He wants to touch you. He wants to be part of what you're doing. Say, "Lord, you can't get involved here. It's too hard. It's too ugly. It's nasty." He goes, "If you're there, then I'm there." He's with you. Can you think about that? Can you say yes to that? Can you say, "Lord, instead of running from you to get healed, I'm running to you. Instead of looking around and trying to meet my need through other means, I'm coming to you," because that is what our God is like. He's not only incomprehensible when you look at him, but it's incomprehensible that he would touch us in our deepest, ugliest, hardest spots. And we end up getting what he's got, and he evaporates our lack, our sin, our ugliness, whatever you think it is. Our God is an amazing God, because that's what our God is like. He's too wonderful, too incomprehensible. And now maybe you're going, "I know why that guy is a little enthusiastic. And whatever he's got, I want to find," and you will. Draw near to God, he'll draw near to you. Have a great day.